Hello and welcome to another game of the Khan advanced variation. This time I show you a game played from this position on, between Deep Fritz 14 and Monarch 1.7. And this position arises after the moves. After this moves here. The opening I will describe in a special video. And yeah, this c5 was the first move calculated, and now let's see both evaluations right around here. We have equal and better for black, so c5, good try. Here Fritz's line is c3. c3 followed up with rook ac8 and b3 to stop any c4 advance. Then a6 and rook ac1. a6, rook ac1, and now probably b4 or something. Rook ac1, no, bishop e7 to g5, attacking the rook. Rook c1 to d1, and now bishop h4. So a little finesse there. Rook d1 to b1. What? Rook d1 to b1. And then king f8 and g3. King f8, g3. This is how it continues. Bishop e7 and knight e2 to f4, attacking the rook. So the rook moves to g7, and yeah, black's king is very safe. This pawn is controlling that knight here. This knight cannot move so good, and yeah, should be playable for black, this position. So let's see what we really get there. So let's analyze a little bit. Rook c5, c3, rook c8, b3, a6. So let's analyze a little bit c takes d4. Okay, now you can take knight takes d4, but yeah, knight takes d4 threatens threatens knight takes e6, because the rook can take. Otherwise, if the pawn had to take, then the rook would hang, but this won't happen. So instead of knight takes, c takes. And now, yeah, knight here doesn't do anything. Maybe bishop there, attacking the rook. So rook c1. And then maybe the move f4. Pawn takes and knight takes, and this knight will come to this juicy square right here. Maybe f3 takes, and knight here. And with the queen coming to this square, this position should be monstrous for black. So this could be good for black, but okay, c takes d4, pawn takes d4, bishop there, rook there, f5. Maybe you don't have to take this f5. So yeah, pawn takes, knight takes fails, of course, due to queen takes rook with check. So you have to take with the rook, but then this pawn falls, so f5 is not on. What else can black play? Maybe rook here, a king here. Rook takes, queen takes, rook there, queen there. Knight here attacking the rook, rook g7. And Now what? Now what? Maybe knight coming in here. No, this doesn't work. Maybe queen there. Followed up with rook there, threatening check. Well, it's just a check, it's nothing more because this knight is covering this h1 square. So white has time for this check and that move, attacking the knight and the pawn. And this is not bad for black. So that's why we will have something else here in that position. So we're currently at that position. c3 is the move white will play here. c3, rook ac8, b3, a6. Nobody wants to take, because I think to take is a mistake. As they say, a6, bishop here, bishop there. Let's continue with this line. The rook just went back. Now maybe taking there. Pawn takes, and now b3. The bishop wants to stay on this diagonal. Now b4. Takes. I don't know if pawn takes. Can also go queen takes. And now rook there. And c4. No, c4 doesn't do anything. c4 doesn't do anything. You sadly cannot take here with a fork because it's still defended. So, but white's position should be better there. I really like white's position here. So white has more prospects, although the position should be equal. So c takes at some point, pawn takes bishop here, and now b4 takes. Maybe taking is bad. Maybe taking is bad. Maybe a4. Yeah, a5 seems to be a better move there. a5. Or instead of this, you can also go knight here, attacking the queen. Do this first. So where is the queen going? Cannot really go there because of the discovery. Okay, this two squares here are not so good because of the knight discoveries. You have to defend that pawn though. So queen c2 seems to be the only logical square. And then the knight can jump in here, threatening the c-pawn. So let's defend this. And now maybe even d4, but this hangs the knight. So d5 can't be played. But you have this bishop takes here also, so you have two threats. So yeah, you can kick the bishop, but this is, I think, a mistake. Here to knight c5 and knight here with the double threat of this one and that one. So black has also prospects in that position. So let's go queen c2. No, let's not go b5. b5 is a mistake. You could go a5 to even more, to take away even more squares for the knight. So the knight can't go anywhere currently, so maybe king here followed up with knight there to exchange it for this strong knight. Okay, now it's white's move. So white can maybe go for c4. Knight there. Oh, knight here. c4. Knight there. Now you cannot really take this, because knight takes would attack the queen. Although you have a check, but this doesn't nothing, because now you cannot take the knight anymore, because the pawn is pinned. And there is no mate here because the rook is covering that square. So white would be down a piece. So after this, you might as well exchange it. Rook takes, and then you can either go c takes, rook takes, queen takes, pawn takes, rook here check, king there, and rook there. At least gets this pawn, but I'm not sure if this is good. Because rook there. And if this, then bishop takes, king takes, no, not rook here, rook takes knight with check, and king moves into the center. But black has plenty of play and it's equal on pawns, so this should be a draw, but I'm not sure. After this, you can maybe go here, and this doesn't do anything, because here black is just lost, so I'm not sure if this endgame is good for black or not, for white. For black. I think this is better for white. So you cannot go after the pawn, you have to do this. But here you can still go there, and if takes, then you push the pawn, push the pawn, push the pawn, go behind the pawn. Now white could take there, black takes there, white takes there with check, and white slowly but not here because of this secure. So, but white slowly but surely improves. But this, yeah, we can investigate this. So rook, no, rook he loses, rook b2, e4, rook here immediately, c2. Or even rook takes, and rook takes there. Not sure, probably this is a draw. Although the king is more active and the rook, maybe white is slightly better there. But okay, Deep Fritz is now 13 minutes for his first major move here in this game. And I am in the end game here analyzing it. So, yeah. Maybe this is not the best move. Maybe you could go there, going after this pawn, but then, no, this can't work, because the rook is also on that square, so let's go here. This is a nice move. No, it's not, because it's twice defended, also with the bishop. So you have to go there with the rook. But then this rook takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, or maybe there. And now you cannot take that pawn because this would win. So you advance. Knight takes, you advance. Knight here, you eliminate the knight. You advance. Now this. You advance with check. That's important, because now you can pick up the pawn as black here. So this is not good for white. So rook takes, pawn takes. Knight takes here instantly, also defending that pawn here. But now bishop here just attacks this one. b4. You can take pawn here and you can go back to stop this pawn. Or the other option after this is you just take there, and after this you stop the pawn like that. It's basically the same, and white is up 2 pawns. So knight takes g4. Defends that pawn, bishop here. A takes. So this is probably the better line. So now you have stopped that pawn, and you have created a passed pawn yourself. So let's say king here, g2, f4, g2. Yeah, the problem is you always take this. No, if you take it there, then king takes, e2, and this doesn't come with check now this time, so white can promote as well. And white is up a pawn, so chances on white's side here. There is a similar end game, where Deep Fritz 14 was beating Komodo. Similar end game here. But okay. This is a little far from the game, but those endgames are interesting because you have to look for them at any point. But we are at this position, c3, and rook c8 will be played. I guess def 24 from Deep Fritz 14. So let's see, c3 will be the move, I guess. My best guess is c3. What about c5? Yeah, okay, rook c8. There is also the move c5, but then you can just drop down with the queen, lock everything on the queen side down, and now the game transfers to the queen side, or white can play b3 as well at some point. So okay. So white finally decides to play the move c3. Okay, c3, rook c8 will be played probably. And I will make a short break here. See you soon. So let's see if rook c8 is on the board. right now. And the knight can always harass the rook here. So let's say rook c8 and knight f4, attacking the rook. This is also an option. So let's go. Yeah, if rook here, then knight there. And if rook there, then queen there, rook there, and knight takes here, and you are twice on that square. So this might be an option. Knight f4. Now it's Fritz's turn, so let's go knight f4. And if rook here and queen there, knight here attacks the queen, queen there, and now king there, followed up with queen there, followed up with knight here, exchanging queens, knight here, knight there, knight here, check, bishop takes knight, queen takes knight, takes there, and if you ever go there, then this pawn is falling and this is defending that one, so you cannot do this. But what you can do is taking there and playing the move e5, and if takes, then you can go knight takes, defends this pawn, and the king will come here or there. So let's continue this f4, takes, knight takes, forks, king and rook, and notice this pawn is pinned due to the rook, and so this f4 doesn't work. So what else can you do? So let's go here, defend the second rank, prepare to double, king here, defending the pawn, the knight, rook there, and now finally you can maybe go after that pawn, but I'm not sure. b4, if you take there, then rook takes knight, so you cannot really go after that pawn. So rook takes knight, so let's say b4, no, not this. Let's say rook there, still cannot push due to en passant. Knight takes check, forking again. But this doesn't stop here, because black has to take here with check. Now rook takes and knight there, maybe with an attack on the rook. So rook here attacking this pawn and that pawn. So this at least is playable for black, I think. It's 4 versus 4, and not sure though, you lose that pawn whatever you do. So rook here check, now this comes with check, but king here attacks the knight, but just rook takes there, because if you take the knight then this rook is hanging, and now black is up a whole rook. So queen there. You could give a check right here, but this does nothing. And now the knight finally leaves. So probably this is the best. Giving up the pawn immediately and now attacking the rook. So the rook has to keep an eye on the pawn, attacking the knight. So let's say king back. You could also go for this check. This is, I think, better. attacking the rook. And now rook there, check. And if you go wrong square, if you go there, then this check comes, so you have to avoid this square. So let's go there. On knight here, check, picks up that pawn. So the king needs to go back. Now you have, oh, not here. This allows this check, winning the rook. Winning the rook. So let's go there. This attacks the rook. Rook there. Keeps on. Oh, or rook takes there even. But then knight here check. King somewhere and knight takes there with discovered check. So you don't want to go into a discovered check. So let's say you go there. Knight takes here and you take there. And you have two connected passes. So I think this endgame should be better for white here. Takes, knight takes. Where else can you go? So yeah, but this knight c6 is the best move. Knight c6. And then you have to go back and attack the rook again, and then it might be a draw, or white makes something else, white does something else, not sure. Black is up a piece. Black is up a piece. Where does black win the piece? Oh, here. Okay, so yeah, that's why this whole stuff doesn't work, but we have a different move from white. Instead of knight f4, knight f4 is interesting. I have to point that out. We have the move b3, stopping any advancement of the pawn. And now a6 most probably. At least a6 is what the Monarch gives. And let's see both evaluations right around here. See, Fritz is currently not giving any information about his position. Now he does. And Deep Fritz is has a bug. So let's try and fix this before continuing, because those games will give me the theory of this Caro-Kann and how it should be played afterwards. So let's see. Bug hasn't been fixed, but maybe Deep Fritz will win anyway. We have the move queen a5 here. Okay, this is different now. Queen a5. Queen a5, maybe no knight f4, or queen g3. Going after this pawn. What about f5 now? Takes, knight takes, will cover this pawn, but the queen could come in here, but then king f7, and it's not so clear how to continue this. Okay, you can attack the rook. The rook just moves back. Now what? Now what? Oh, you take this pawn. You're twice on it, so f5, knight takes and queen here. Or also knight here with an attack on this pawn. Okay, so f5 doesn't work. You cannot play f5 in that position. But how else to defend that pawn here? Queen g3, c takes d4, c takes d4, and what? And what? That's the big question. And what? Now this pawn is hanging. You still cannot defend. Let's say you invade. Knight here. What about f5 now? You have to take en passant. Knight takes. Attacking the knight twice, but then knight takes, rook takes, and knight here. Still attacking this pawn. King f2. Now just takes. Maybe there is a sacrifice. Yeah, there is, because of this check, winning the rook afterwards. So f5 doesn't work in this position either. So, yeah, because of the weak e6 pawn. This comes with check, so the queen doesn't hang. Knight here, knight takes, rook takes, king takes, queen here, check, winning the rook. Okay, so we have c takes d4 here. C takes d4. C takes d4. So we have c takes d4 in that position. C takes d4 will be played, and then rook e c1. Rook e1 c1. C takes d4, queen b4 now. Going after, well, I'm not sure what to go. Rook e c1. Rook takes c1, rook takes c1, rook takes c1, rook takes c1, bishop e7 to d8, covering the second rank. Yeah, and with this configuration here around black's king is pretty safe. But then knight f4 attacks the rook. Rook g8 and queen e3. Defending the rook and all invasion points. This pawn has never been touched. I have to investigate later why. But yeah, this Caro-Kann is pretty nice. So c takes d4, c takes d4, and now queen b4 will be played. Probably, and then queen here. Why not knight takes? What about c4 now? Takes en passant. Knight takes, bishop takes, knight here. Yeah, takes the rook and the pawn, so f5 doesn't work, so why not taking here? Oh, maybe because of knight takes. The knight cannot take. And if the queen cannot take, so then the knight hangs, and if the pawn takes, then the rook takes. If the queen takes, then the rook takes. If the knight takes, then this. So knight takes e5 is probably the reason why this pawn has never been touched. So queen g3, c takes d4, c takes d4, and queen to b4. Indirectly defends that pawn. That's nice. Looking through this d4 pawn, because knight takes here is an option. So we have rook c1 instead. And now rook c6 is planned by the sovereign, and let's now look at both evaluations. Deep Fritz is thinking that it's equal, and also Monarch 1.7 thinks this is only a slight edge to white. Monarch's line goes rook c6, knight takes g4, knight takes e5, queen takes e5, and rook takes knight. This is the Monarch's line, which I'm not a fan of, probably. So rook c6. Why not just take this and play that? Probably because of this. c5. D takes c5. Knight takes c5. Knight f4, attacking the rook. The rook moves all the way back. Or even knight here is an option. This check does nothing because of king here attacking the rook, and now the queen is also attacked. So knight here. Queen there. Rook c8. Yeah, this looks like a good position for black. So that's why we have knight takes g4 instead. Queen b4, rook c1, and rook c6, followed up with knight takes here, knight takes there, queen takes e5. Wait, queen takes e5 is not on the cards from white. Knight c5 is also interesting, but knight takes e5 gives the knight back immediately. But knight here is also nice, because this knight will jump in here and will attack the queen. And if the queen moves to here, then the knight can attack the queen one more time. And if the queen moves to h3, then also the knight can attack the queen. So probably it doesn't matter where the queen goes, the knight will land on g5 attacking the queen. So maybe this is a better option, but we have knight takes e5, and this is now not very good. At least Deep Fritz doesn't approve this. Queen takes e5, rook takes g4, and queen b8 check. Bishop there, and then rook here check. Pawn takes rook, and the queen is undefended. So that's nice. That's a nice little tactic. So queen here check. So the king has to go there. And after this takes, the pawn takes, bishop takes. I'm not convinced about that. Not f4, f5. The queen moves back, and the king goes there. So it seems as though that black survives 2, 4, 5 versus 2 for 5 pawns, and this endgame is better for black, so the king has to go to d7. Yeah, but now you can take the a pawn maybe, and from here this pawn will also be defended, but takes, and queen here attacks the knight, and if the knight moves then the rook would fall, so king here. But first of all you have this check, and wherever the king goes, it's mate next move. For example here, then there is this mate. Okay, the king can go there. Check. Bishop goes there. Not sure. Here. Check. Black has to be fast. Check. But it's not fast enough. Black is not fast enough. Oh, or is it? No, black is not fast enough. White is the one winning, so we have to move knight, queen to here. Check. King d7. King d7 will be played, the only move. King d7 and rook takes c6, b takes, and queen takes. Oh, now rook takes c6, pawn takes, and now, only now queen takes here, creating a passed a pawn with a check. So the king has to move, probably here. Now maybe f3. Rook moves back somewhere, let's say here. And now you can go there, going after that pawn. Maybe c4. This you can just take, and yeah, so c5 doesn't work here. So what else can you do there in that position? Yeah, seems as though that white is a clear pawn up, clearly winning that position. Let's see both evaluations. Deep Fritz 14 is on winning, and Monarch is also on better for black. So we have rook takes, and now probably b takes c6, because you don't really want to play king takes b6, because the rook will come into action with a check. And if you go there, then the king hunt begins. And here you can exchange queens with check. King here and prepare b4. So I'm not sure if this is winning though. 2, 4, 5 versus 5 pawns, so not going with that. Queen here check. No, not this check. Oh, this is mate immediately, because these pawns are covering the king escape, and this is mate. So yeah, if the king steps back, then this check, only move, and then it's queen c7 checkmate. So after this check, the king has to go there. And this is not the best position you could be in. Yeah, but rook here, going after that pawn. Check. This doesn't help. So white just takes a knight and check mate. Next move. No, not here. Rather giving that check. If the queen blocks, then there is this rook check. If you take the rook, then queen check. The only way is this, and then it's checkmate. So, and every other line Leads to mate as well. Probably you take this with the rook. No, I'm not sure. Queen takes b7, check. Yeah, now this check. King here. It doesn't... It's not that clear, actually. If king takes, it's not that clear. It's not a mate at all, but we had this takes, and now b takes, and queen takes a7 with king here and queen here check. This is the current bolt position. And after king d7, there is this rook to here attacking on c7. So and if this... Wait, why is this always happening? B takes, queen takes a7, king c8, check, and rook there. And if... Again, it's happening. So let's try. What's wrong with this whole stuff here? Can't I just move anything? So okay, we had c takes d4, c takes d4, queen b4, rook ec1, rook c6, knight takes g4, knight takes e5, queen takes... This is the current board position. Rook takes c6, b takes c6, queen takes a7, rook c8, king here, king here, king there. And now if the queen... Again it happens. There is some bug here. No, rook takes, b takes, queen takes a7, king c8, king here, king there, rook there. And if the queen... Okay, if the queen goes there, then a5. If the queen goes to b6, then a5. So again, queen takes, queen c8, queen here, rook there. And now what? C... Okay, this has some severe problems. So I close this currently and trying to open it again. But this, we have c5 on the board. This just loses yet another pawn. King e8 and now just d takes c5. Okay, you lose the b pawn, but you have two connected, two passed pawns here on the queen side. So this should be good for black. For white, of course, not for black. So let's see. We have queen g5, not even taking the b pawn. Let's see how long this takes, that this program will open. Bishop g5. Let's now see both evaluations. Okay, Monarch doesn't see the danger yet, but there is a lot of danger. Queen g5, and now rook cf1 will be played. What about rook here? Rook to c3, then probably queen there attacks the knight and the rook. And then it'd be a perpetual, I think. Okay. How can I make here... Okay, I just do some random moves to be able to get that... What's this? No. No, okay. This is a tactic trainer. Okay, my notebook is now really going down, I think. So I'll make a short break and see you in a second. Oh, there is something will open. So I will close this shit. I will just commentate on the game here instead of analyzing it. I will just commentate on it. Okay, let's see how long the computer takes for this request. Okay, but with computer assistance. So let's see Fritz line here. Oh, no, this doesn't work. But here Monarch also thinks that this is lost. Queen here check, and now just queen h2 maybe. Yeah, queen here anyway with double attack. But now you can go queen knight to here. Knight g3 just blocking mate. And if now rook takes, then you can take with the queen. Before rook takes, then there was pawn takes, and yeah. Knight here threatens knight check, threatens nothing because the rook is covering g7 and the bishop is covering that square. But it looks threatening. Knight here, and let's see both evaluations. I think Fritz is now on clearly winning. No, Fritz is not on clearly winning. Fritz is on just better. We have 5 versus 3 pawns. Now we have this check, king f8. And queen c6 will be played there. Queen c6 to c8 check. That takes the bishop. Queen takes c5, defends the bishop. Queen takes c5, queen takes c5, bishop takes c5. And white is up a pawn. But is this winning? a5. Yeah, you can push a4 as well. But the bishop is covering a7. Oh, then you have a deflection with b4. So that's nice. Now just g3 or knight d3 attacking the bishop. I will play g3. Okay, knight here. Bishop there. b4, yeah, this connected passes will win the game. I'm sure about that now. And Monarch is very optimistic about his position, thinking that this is equal, but this is far from equal. How can this ever be equal? Rook takes e1, rook h4. Yeah, but the bishop is currently nicely defending the pawns, but how can they break through? That's the question. Bishop c3 wins the a pawn. No, bishop c3, a6, bishop takes d8, a7, and there is no way of... Not sure. Knight versus rook. Okay, now bishop takes e1. Okay, bishop d4. Now it's over. Now it's clearly over. Rook h8. Covering the 8th rank. But now just rook c6 probably. Or knight c5 just blocking the bishop's way. And these two passes are just awesome. e5 is for nothing. Rook a8. e5 is just too slow. But we have e5 and now b6. It just wins the game instantly. This is not definitely over. But I have a couple of questions here to that game. But first of all, I'll close my analysis board. And let's see how long. 1 hour. Still, f takes e4. Bishop f4 covering. Not taking the rook, but covering. Now e7 and rook h1 check. It doesn't matter about the rook on c8. You get two brand new queens, or at least one queen, and this will be enough to win the game. Rook takes c1, and now just queen or even move the knight. Knight d7 saves the day, saves the piece. d4, b8 queen, a8 queen. Rook c2 check. King f3 most probably then. But here I think I can adjust the game as a win for white, because this is now clear. So let's now ask Fritz a couple of questions to this game. First of all, let's go through the opening a little bit. How much theory was this? h5 was the first move, not theory, at least according to this, but I quite like this formation for black. This is such a standard formation which you want to get in the Caro-Kann. And now this knight on h2 was bad the whole time, and here black just wants to get the piece back instantly, but the pawn, but here it was not so great. c5 takes, c takes, bishop g5. Yeah, here at some point I had a question. Yeah, right there, I think. Bishop here. Rook h4. a7. So if you take the rook, let's say you take the rook, new variation, then b6. Rook a4. So let's try and cover everything. Bishop to b4 is suggested. Bishop to b4, a7. Rook here attacks the knight. c7, yeah, it just doesn't matter. It's just over. It's just over. Everything, every piece sacrifice here, it's just over. If you take the rook there, then still a7 I think will win the game. a7 and these pawns are just crushing through. Queen, bishop takes, yet another queen with a check, taking the bishop goes all the way back. So yeah, well, anyway, I don't need to analyze this. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next time. Ciao.